in. His deck is a bit different, however. He is not playing the Chain Lightnings. Instead, he has access to some interesting spells. Here he has Fire Ice, Stifle, and Thought Scour. He's playing 4 copies of Thought Scour.
That's cool.
Really cool.
And very interesting. I mean, we talked about how good it is with Delver and Snapcaster in Standard. Same thing applies here in Legacy.
Yeah, very good with Delver and Snapcaster in Legacy as well. Also, an incredibly strong card with Brainstorm. Think about it.
Put 2 cards back and then mill them.
Yeah, I mean, and instead of putting 2 cards back on the top of your library and then shuffling them away so that, you know, you might draw these 2 cards that you don't really want to match them anyway, you just scour them right into your graveyard.
And then get another card.
Yeah, and that has some pretty nice synergy with Tarmogoyf and Nimble Mongoose also. So basically, it has synergy with every single card in the deck.
Yeah, so he's replaced Ponder with Thought Scour, and I think that's actually
I think that's almost
a perfect
it's an
upgrade. Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like it. I mean,
here we
actually,
go.
I hadn't really considered
some,
that before when we were watching him play, but that really seems like a great decision by Andrew.
The other thing is Thought Scour in Legacy has a lot of other applications too. People often play cards like Enlightened Tutor.
Right? Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, Mental Note has seen play in Legacy, and Thought Scour is just an upgrade to Mental Note.
Yeah, Thought Scour is, you know, I guess it's not a strict upgrade because it can be diverted.
True.
Or misdirected.
Fair point.
However, it is.
But go ahead, you were going to say.
It does seem. I mean, it does seem better though. I agree.
Yeah.
Thought Scour though has some other applications. For example, let's say your opponent is playing Enlightened Tutor, and they cast an Enlightened Tutor. You can just Thought Scour them.
Yeah.
And then get rid of that card they put on the top of their deck and draw a card.
Absolutely.
That's pretty impressive. Or if you're playing against like deck like Counterbalance,
right?
And you cast
like
a 2,
yeah,
like a Tarmogoyf, and then you just Thought Scour them. Again, that's pretty good. They put a top back on the top of their library. You can Thought Scour it away.
Yeah.
They hide cards
hopefully,
with Brainstorm.
if they put the top back on their library and have Counterbalance in play, I don't think you're going to Thought Scour it away.
Oh yeah, I mean in that scenario, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. You're going to have a little trouble unless they just forget to reveal. All right, and we're off. So, Scalding Tarn into Volcanic Island for Scott. Ken Adams making an appearance.
Yes. We are a turn 1 Noble Hierarch for Andrew Morrow. A Noble Hierarch has been treating him well all day.
Yeah.
Lots of turn 1 Noble Hierarchs. Tropical Island from Scott Ruggiero. And let's see, does he have a 2-drop? Now, interesting to note, post-sideboard, the cards people are going to bring in here. Scott has access to 3 Submerge. Andrew also access to 3 Submerge. Scott has access to 2 Pyroblast, while... ooh, interesting. Andrew's actually playing blue Elemental Blast instead of red Elemental Blast.
And that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Scott's resolved Tarmogoyf, and Andrew is now pondering.
Yeah. Now, Tarmogoyf isn't quite the threat that it is in many other matchups when you're playing against Bant. A major issue when you're fighting against Bant is that, you know, they have access to Snapcaster, or not Snapcaster Range, they have access to Stoneforge Mystic and Neither Reliquary, both of which you kind of go over the top of Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're playing Swords to Plowshares on 4 full copies, you know, they can effectively deal with Tarmogoyf while actually gaining a tempo advantage.
Yeah, I mean, from Rug Delver's end, Tarmogoyf is you know, the fatty of the deck, but to Bant, it's like just a speed bump.
Exactly. You know, when you're playing Rug Delver, Tarmogoyf's the Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice little Cincinnati pun for you there. Hope you guys like that.
You've been cooking that one up all weekend.
Yeah, man.
And there's Swords to Plowshares on the Cincinnati. And Force of Will.
And that's, you know, we've seen this happen before. People
Force of Will gets
aggressively using Force of Wills on removal spells that target their early creatures. And, you know, if that works for you and you get to take that creature all the way, it's one thing, but it's unlikely that that's going to happen. And, you know, Force of Will is one of those cards that you really should only counter spells that just are going to win the game with.
Yeah. So Swords ends up taking out the Tarmogoyf. Scott gains some life, but loses a Force of Will in the process.
Yeah, I mean, and every time I see people remove a card with Force of Will, I always cringe. I never ever use my forces. I side them out most of my matchups. I don't even know why I play them.
What did he remove with the Force?
He removed a Stifle.
Oh, that's right. You're right. It was Stifle.
Yeah.
I knew I saw it, and then I already forgot.
And I mean, Stifle's a pretty good card against Andrew's deck. It's essentially like a 1-mana Stone Rain in a lot of cases. All right, here Scott goes with a Brainstorm. Properly brainstorming here. He has the fetch land in play, and he's looking for an effective way to answer this Knight.
Like Force of Will?
Like Force of Will. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to deal with it, though. Wait, how many lands does Andrew have in his graveyard?
See if we can get a peek here. Is it just 2? Fetch, yeah, 2 fetches. So he's a 4/4. That look right to you?
Yep, that does look right to me. All right, so he can, in fact, 2-for-1 himself again in order to deal with it, but you know, you can only 2-for-1 yourself so many times.
It's true.
And if Andrew decides to get big here, then and using that Lightning Bolt, he's gonna lose the opportunity to make the Lightning Bolt Snapcaster Lightning Bolt play, which would be able to effectively deal with that Knight of the Relic Quarry.
Yeah, so he bolts the Hierarch instead.
And now, if he's going to win this game, he's going to have to get creative. Thoughtscour's card I wouldn't be surprised to see adopted by many other decks. Also strong with Knight of the Relic Quarry. I can imagine having another Relic Quarry in play and attacking with it. And as a combat trick, brainstorming some lands to the top of my deck and Thoughtscouring them away. I can think of so many fun things to do with Thoughtscour. We can go on all day.
I like it.
All right, another Snapcaster Mage for Scott, and you know, Snapcaster Mage is kind of this like get out of jail free card where you know, you spend all these cards and you're 2-for-1ing yourself throughout the game, but Snapcaster Mage then just 2-for-1s your opponent right back.
Yeah, Snapcaster
nice.
is very, very impressive. I know there's been talk, you know, there's talk about the possibility of Brainstorm getting banned, and I've seen people like Chapin even say, well, if that were the case, I think Snapcaster would go first. And
yeah, I mean, if Brainstorm were banned, I think a lot of people would not want to play Legacy.
Right.
I think that, and I don't think anybody's willing to let that happen.
But I don't know. This format seems really awesome right now.
It does. I like it a lot.
I don't really see a problem with it. Got a Dredge deck in the finals, and then one of these guys going into the finals.
Yeah, I mean, there are all these interesting decks doing well. Mono Red just won the last 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. So here we have, excuse me, Snapcaster Mage from Scott, and Brainstorm trying to get flashed back here, but meets a Spell Pierce.
And that's a really tight Spell Pierce. When somebody's brainstorming desperately like that, it usually means that they're lacking an effective way to deal with the cards you have on the table at this time.
Yeah.
And if you're able to Spell Pierce that, then you just gain a huge advantage. You're able to just kind of ride what you have in play to victory.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even similar situation earlier with the Tarmogoyf, you know, swords, and if he's going to force it, you know, he thinks that Tarmogoyf is that important to waste 2 cards on it. Daze, you know, I'll daze the force. I think that was great play by Andrew Morrow to kind of stick the removal spell and get rid of the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things you have to worry about when you play against these banned style of decks. You know, forcing when you're tapped out, you know, it's usually when you end up forcing because, you know, you're tapped down, that's the only way you can interact. But that opens you up to get dazed, and, you know, if they daze your force that you've cast as alternate cost, it's like getting, you know, it's like getting hymned for 0 mana.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
Alright, well, Snapcaster comes to battle. Knocks Andrew to 16. And another Snapcaster.
Another Snapcaster comes down. This is going to accrue Scott some more card advantage here.
It's actually, what does he have left in that?
I think he just has a Bolt.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to just, bolt the Hierarch.
Yeah, and that Lightning Bolt. Again, still one of the most efficient removal spells ever. Also very nice that it can dome people. All right, Andrew cracking Scott again with this knight.
Is it still a 4-4 or is it bigger?
I think it's a 4-4. He hasn't had an opportunity to make it smaller or to make it bigger yet.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, you wonder like how important is that hierarch? Wouldn't you rather block bolt? You know what I mean? And get rid of the knight. I mean, obviously Andrew's now added a second knight, but wouldn't it be better if?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that's almost certainly the better play.
He's already bolted the first hierarch, and now he bolted the second, and meanwhile the knights are what are really posing a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the knights are a huge problem for him. Any sort of like red deck has a massive problem with Knight of the Reliquary just because it's so big.
Right.
And it's just this massive body that's really hard to deal with. And
so here he does double block, trying to deal with one of the knights, but
yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good bait of a double block because that gives him the opportunity to bolt the knight post combat, and it forced his opponent to use the sword.
Yeah.
And depending on what he has in his like on the top of his library right now, he might even be able to draw out of this if he has an end of turn bolt for that knight. All right, Andrew.
all right.
Ooh, Mizawa's Jitte. And that's not very good at all right now because we know that Scott has an Ancient Grudge in hand.
And there's the Ancient Grudge.
And that's going to effectively deal with that Jit.
So Scott's got some breathing room now. Still has a knight on the table across from him to fight, but I like.
Now Scott going down to 5 here.
Yeah, I like where he is. I mean, he's given himself some opportunities here.
And here he's going to go down to 1. Yeah, goes down to 1. And let's see what Scott draws. He draws a Delver of Secrets.
Assuming that's a Delver, yeah.
Yep.
And attack block, okay.
Yep. And another land for Andrew.
Brainstorm.
And a Brainstorm, and that's precisely what he was looking for.
And we see Bolt Force land, is it?
Yeah, and there's nothing there that interacts well with that knight.
Yeah.
Scott's just dead to the knight right now.
It's unfortunate too because if he would have just had that bolt one turn sooner, block bolt again would have been an option to take care of that knight. But now Andrew has a fetch land.
Turn sooner, he would have been able to get the Delver and the bolt. Fortunately, he was forced to block that very turn.
Yeah,
just one turn behind.
Yeah, and now I go back to that situation where he bolted the hierarch away instead of block bolt on the Knight of the Reliquary before the second knight even hit the board. I wonder how things would have gone had he chosen that line of play. But Andrew Morrow on to the finals with Bant versus Adam Prozac playing Dredge.
And now Andrew's got some more Dredge hate than the previous people we've seen that have gotten to play against Adam.